Hello everyone, welcome back to another FPL video on Fantasy Football Scout. Team selection time for Game Week 8, and I am joined by Gianni to go through how we did in Game Week 7 and then a look ahead to Game Week 8. How you doing? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm good, all things considering.
Yeah? Doesn't sound too good. That's a
Yeah,
very
I mean,
short answer.
I'm trying to put on a brave face. I'm just looking now at my overall rank because I know you're about to show it in the graphic. And as I've said before, I try not to look. And yeah, it's another red arrow. It's just not going to plan, is it? These videos are now killing me, but it can only go one way. I've just got to keep looking forward.
Yeah, there's quite a few, we'll come on to the ranking in a second. There are quite a few people in a similar situation. I've seen people talking about it on Twitter today. Like, it is very early. Like, the points difference is still not massively high. Like, I think I'm like 300k. I bet our total points difference is probably not any more than about 50 points. So the differences in ranks still aren't like massively heavy. It's not like when you get into like, I don't know, halfway through the season and the person at the top is like 200 odd points away and you just know it's never going to happen. So yeah, still time to recover. We'll talk about how your game went in just a second. Just a quick shout out to Fantasy 5. If you haven't already tried them out, it's a completely free game. You've got a chance to win £10,000. All you have to do is pick one player from 5 games, which you can see on the screen, who are going to beat the points total you can also see on the screen. So obviously for different teams, there's different players. So for example, Batshuayi for Crystal Palace, if he gets a goal and an assist or 2 goals, he'll beat 6.5 and therefore he would win for that game, etc, etc. So there's a link in the description below if you want to check that out. And as always, I'll show you my picks at the end of the video when we've been through the team. So let's have a quick look at Game Week 7, almost forgetting which game week it is. So what I noticed this week, so 49 points, and I think we've spoken about your bench the last few weeks, and it basically finally bit you, didn't it?
It finally bit me. I've managed so long with the Dross enabler bench. And look, guys, you don't get points for your bench. So for all those comments that, needs a better bench, needs a better bench, yeah, you're right, you do. But you don't necessarily need it straight away. So I was thinking, yeah, I need it. And now it's stung me. Now I act. So look, I knew going into last week that there was a risk that one of my Wolves defenders wouldn't play. And I also knew that Mitchell could be injured. So I had the decision to make. Do I take a 4-point hit to get an extra transfer in? But I was like, whatever defender I bring in, they've got to get more than 4 points to justify it for that week alone. I wasn't willing to do that. But now, now I need to be. And fortunately, I have 2 transfers to upgrade my defence and therefore upgrade my squad.
Well, here's some perspective for you, right? And I think sometimes things look worse on paper than they actually are. So you've got 2 defenders, and they scored 15 points between them. So on average, your 3 defenders are scoring 5 points per match. My 3 defenders all returned. So I had Chilwell 6 points, Dallas 6 points, and Reguilon 4 points. That's only 16 points. I got 3 returns from 3 players, and I only actually got 1 more point than your 2 did. So, a bit of perspective. It wasn't the defence that really hurt you this week. Although obviously it would have been good to have a bench player, but you kind of knew the risks for the last few weeks. Captaincy again. Sterling, Man City, like they've only scored 1 goal in each of the last 3 or 4 matches. I think now. What is going on there?
It was a brilliant call, wasn't it? Not. Everyone was going Salah or Kane. The effective ownership of those players was sky high, and I knew that going into it. But this is what happens when your ranks where I am. You start trying to play a little bit smart, a little bit clever, trying to be a bit too smart, a bit too clever, and you just realise that you need some of those differential shouts to see a big increase. And look, the risk with Sterling was I got what I got. I got a blank. But the reward was absolutely huge. This is a player that was 7% owned. That if he had scored a goal or even got, a decent return, a goal assist or even 2, it could have been massive for me. So I actually look back at it and still I'm very happy with my decision on Sterling. Will I do it again? Probably not. But do I think I made the wrong decision? I don't think so. Maybe I got a bit lucky because Salah and Kane didn't go nuts. They didn't produce double digits. So yes, I still lost points there. I lost 6 points if I'd gone Salah, I think. But maybe slightly more than that. But yeah, look, Sterling was man of the match in that first half. He could have got a couple of assists. His XG was something like 1.5. Like, it wasn't a bad call, I don't think.
Here's a question for you. If you were ranked in the top 100k, 200k, 300k, whatever it might have been,
I would have gone Salah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you because
all day long.
yeah,
This is what 3 million overall rank does to a man.
But do you think that's a mistake? Because I'm often hold the opinion, especially early on in the season, that going different when you go for Sterling is not the same as like maybe going different in captain and Trossard, right? It's obviously not the same kind of different call. But if you would have 100% gone for one player while being high rank, do you think it's a mistake to play the other way? Because sometimes being different, like the idea in people's heads is you play different, you hit that big score, you got the rank. But what some people don't consider is you get it wrong, you go further down the rank, and actually sometimes it's good just to go with the crowd and get the points on the board. So do you think going forward this will change your thinking?
Possibly. Do you know what it is? If you'd asked me that question a year or two ago, I would have all day long happily gone Sterling. I'm an FPL manager that's quite open to a few risks. Since this season, when we're doing these videos every week, I'm doing more on Twitter, and people are watching my moves. I realised, like last week when I was thinking of captaincy, the only reason I was going Salah was to play safe because I was worried about the criticism if Sterling or someone else had gone wrong. And I was like, no, hang on a sec. You just because you're creating some content now or because you're doing these videos now, you shouldn't let that affect your decision. So I actually went back to what happens intrinsically in my FPL game, which is no, I fancied Sterling. I still genuinely believed Sterling was a good shout. And on another day, and you can say this all the time, but I do think I was slightly unlucky with that captaincy call. He put it on a plate twice for Torres, who could have had tap-ins. It was a brilliant first half by Sterling and didn't really perform in the second. But yeah, it was more just wanting to do what I felt was right. And I have to back that. You have to play your own game in this game.
Yeah, the whole. I mean, I could talk about the whole creating content and making decisions all day because it is a thing. Like, and it can play on people's minds especially when you first start doing like a weekly video like this, because you're always second guessing. The other thing is like you feel like once you've said something, you cannot go back on that for that week, and you do get over that after a while. If I have a captaincy decision all week and then I get to Saturday morning and I change my mind, I will just change my mind. But yeah, I know what you mean. You feel like you got to not play up to people, but you know, if they're saying stuff, you're like, yeah, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, and it can be difficult. So, and like I said, captaining Sterling is not exactly a completely out of this world different option, like, you know, maybe Trossard or someone would have. So, all right,
and also Andy, like just quickly on that, like let's not forget, guys, Salah scored his points from a penalty that was arguably soft. Kane scored his points by a penalty that shouldn't have been a pen. Like, these weren't guys that blew Sterling out the park this week. On another day, they both blank, and Sterling actually produces more points than them, even with his 3, because Salah gets 2 and Kane gets 2. So, you know, I don't think it was a bad call.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I don't think it was like I said, I don't think it was like a completely out there call at all. But let's see who you're captaining this week. And, well, I mean, to be honest, okay, let's just get captaincy over with first of all.
Yeah.
For most people, it is going to be Kane and Son. In fact, I'm just trying to even think now who else might even be in the conversation, because most other players who are in a lot of teams...
Werner.
Yeah, Werner.
Sheffield United at home.
But they've only conceded, 3 to Man City and Liverpool. Like, I mean, to me... I mean, Chelsea did do really well against Burnley. I think that's the kind of team, a bit like Sheffield United, that will sit back, and they were able to open them up. So that is kind of promising. But I don't know. I just think captain in Werner, when you got if you've got Kane and Son already, that's just a crazy call for me. So yeah. you've got Kane and Son and no Werner. So is Kane set for you, or have you got any thoughts about changing to Son?
I'm done with trying to be clever, Andy. I'm going Kane all day long. I every week I do a captaincy video with my dog, and I don't always go with what the dog says, but it's good social media content, right? So do it. It's fun. This week there is no point in doing the video. There's, for me, no point in having like long videos about captaincy. It's Kane if you own Kane, and it's Son if you own Son, and if you own both, it's probably Kane because of form. So yeah, there's absolutely no. I'm not even thinking of anyone else. Like, you know, I mentioned Werner a bit tongue in cheek. That would complete the set for me, seeing as I had Salah against Sheffield United. Then I went Sterling against Sheffield United. 3 weeks in the trot, it'd be armband against Sheffield United. But no, it's Spurs against West Brom. It's got to be.
Just really quick, I mean, obviously everyone knows the main kind of caveats. Kane's got penalties, but Son's got the extra point for the clean sheet, which they will probably get against West Brom, I would imagine, and extra points for a goal. So what's drawing you to Kane over Son?
It's just form. I think Son's had 3 blanks in the last 4. And I know he's been in devastating form this season, but Kane's been just looked so sharp. And yeah, you look at the double up and go, if Son scores and Kane gets the assist, or vice versa, that will slightly change if Gareth Bale forces his way into the 11. And although I think Bale makes players better because players play better when they're with better players, I do have a slight concern over Son moving forward with Bale's addition. Look, Bale played on the right mostly at Real Madrid at the end, so he'll play on the right of the 3 and Son on the left and Kane in the middle when they play that system. But in terms of just balls over and running channels and stuff, Bale and Son will play similar style games, and it's someone else for Kane to pass the ball to when they're running in behind. If you're playing with a Lamela or a Lo Celso or a Dele in that role, Kane's still only got that one option in front of him, which is Son. With Bale, we might have 2. So yeah, it's Kane for me all day long.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. I mean, I basically have decided on Kane as well, and I've got both. But I came to that conclusion from for different reasons. But yeah, I didn't think of the Bale factor and the fact that he is basically a Son on the other side of the pitch. And for Kane, it doesn't really change too much. But maybe it will for Son. Obviously, we don't know whether Bale will definitely start, but he has played a few more minutes now, and we don't know exactly how it will affect Son. But yeah, that's a good point. But
it's a very different player to a Lamela, or even you could argue Lucas plays that role, but Lucas might be rapid, but he doesn't offer the goal threat of a Son. And actually, when you look at the heat maps, Lucas isn't the same as Son. He's there when Son's there. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the dynamic there.
Yeah, I think Lucas Moura is a good player, but you're right. If Kane's got Son or Moura in front of him, he's passing to Son. If he's got Son or Bale, he just picks the better pass, doesn't he? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that works out. So looking at the rest of the team, like we've spoken about defence and bench, is this the week where there's a defensive transfer? Because we think now Saiss has probably lost his place, although I can't imagine he goes the whole season now without playing, but all the evidence points to the fact that Kilman has probably got his place for now. Burke done. Mitchell's lost his place potentially, although he was injured. So it's hard to know whether he would have definitely started. So what's your thinking with transfers this week?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the 2 to make. So look, one is definitely on a defensive move, possibly 2. A lot depends on a few factors. You can tell I don't like making budget defendants transfers, or I wouldn't still have done in my squad. I probably wouldn't still have Mitchell. But look, I've got to bite the bullet, even though I'm drawn to attackers still. So option 1 is I do one defensive transfer. So it could be Saiss out, for example. And then I could replace Jimenez with Timo Werner. So I still get my attractive new shiny forward, which another big. I like doing.
Hang on, what move is that? Saiss to...
Saiss down to Soufal at West Ham, 4.5 million.
Yeah.
And then Jimenez upgrade to Werner. Still leaves me with 0.1 or 0.2 in the bank. Because Jimenez has come down to like
9.2, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, Werner is 9.2, yeah. And Jimenez 8.5, yeah.
That's crazy. Werner, Kane, Son, Sterling, and Salah, and you still got Calvin. Okay, yeah, go on. What's the other
all these big hitters that I seem to manage to get, and I've still got this terrible rank. So that's what I'm drawn to at the moment, right? So it's Saiss out to a 4.5, and West Ham have got great fixtures. I like Soufal. He's playing right wing back. The other option is if Lamptey is injured, and so it'll go down to the press conference for my decision making, then I have to move on Lamptey or Lamptey is benched if it's a short-term injury, but I need 2 playing defenders because I think Kilman's going to start. But if Lamptey is injured, it leaves me potentially with 1 defender, right? So I have to make a couple of moves. So that could be Lamptey out if it's long-term. If it's short-term, then Lamptey stays, Saiss still goes, and then I sell a Mitchell or a Dunn. There is a slight sort of doubt in my mind that Mitchell might actually still be considered a first 11 player at Crystal Palace. We don't know if he's going to be preferred to Van Aanholt. I doubt it, but we could also see Van Aanholt playing in the same 11 as him. We've seen Roy Hodgson convert left backs to left wingers before. Jeffrey Schlupp was a left back at Leicester. He was a winger at Palace, and Van Aanholt offers good threat going forward. So it'd be Dunn who makes way. So if I got rid of, say, Saiss and Dunn, my 2 transfers would be Soufal and Bellerin. So I would love Zuma or Chilwell, but I can't quite stretch there. Bellerin is 5 million compared to Zuma, I think, is at 5.2.
Yeah.
I actually mentioned off the back of our call last week, we did this video, and as soon as we sort of said our goodbyes, I mentioned Bellerin to you, Andy. I don't know if you remember, that had my eye on him. We sort of joked about Arsenal defence, but look, they look good at the weekend. Bellerin is getting forward, and he got the assist. We know the wing-back system is what Arteta's going with. So I like Bellerin as a bit of a differential, but yeah, Zuma or Chilwell would be safer, but I can't stretch there. So Soufal and Bellerin would be my two defensive moves if I don't go for the Werner option.
Yeah, I think it completely makes sense to get rid of Dunn and hope that Mitchell starts, because we don't know 100%, like you said, that he's definitely now not in that squad. So if you can do a different move, you might as well. Have you got, obviously I know you're drawn to big hitters as shown by your team. Have you got any kind of inclination to downgrade Jimenez? There's lots and lots of 6.5 or below forwards that are doing well. Like Wilson just overtaking Calvert-Lewin. Bamford, okay, didn't score, but he had a couple of chances in that game, etc., etc. Then that would let you kind of do like the Chilwell move and, you know, whatever other move you want. Have you got any thoughts about downgrading, or are you just looking to get another big hitter in?
I don't usually go down. Yeah. Look, there's one player I wanted to downgrade Jimenez to, and the plan was always to go there. If he is fit, and I'm seeing really positive signs that I know he's going to start this weekend, then yeah, I haven't talked about it. I think I mentioned it last week. It would be Jimenez to Antonio. That would then allow me to do way more with my defence and possibly upgrade a Trossard. But we just don't know about Antonio. And look, we might get something from Moyes which is confirmed, and if we do, then maybe I go there. But the temptation with the big hitter is it gives you another captaincy option, and as you can see, I like sometimes going a bit differential with that. Not that it's worked so far, but I do believe that will swing. And having a Chelsea player for game week 9 gives me another captaincy option for game week 9. Because game week 9, I know we're jumping ahead of ourselves and we'll talk more about this next week. Captaincy options are tough. Spurs play Man City, Liverpool play Leicester. You know, Chelsea have Newcastle, United have West Brom. So having Werner would be great there. But the Chelsea player I really want, Andy, and I've spoken about this, is Ziyech. But I cannot get Ziyech into my team this week without taking a 4-point hit, which I don't want to do, whilst I can get Werner in. And I am willing to sell Jimenez. So whilst I want Ziyech, I think I might settle for Werner. But again, I'll be watching the Champions League on Wednesday night to see how he plays. The Pulisic injury isn't as bad as we thought. Could that mean he's a rotation risk? I just need to know this. So look, usually we talk and it's aired on a Wednesday, and I'm pretty nailed with my moves. This week, it will go down to the wire, and there's so many options depending on Lamptey's fitness, Werner's form, Wolves press conference with Saiss. So yeah, there's Antonio. There's loads of variables, which is why Friday, and we got to make our moves early on Friday at 4:00 the deadline. Remember, UK time. I'll be it will go down to the wire, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy short deadline. I agree with Antonio. He just looks like such a good option if he's fit. Big if at the moment. And it's interesting, like your play style versus mine, because when I looked at Jimenez, not once did I ever think about upgrading him. In my head, it's just like, right, he's a downgrade, absolutely, and then you can kind of mess around with the defense a bit more. But obviously going for all those big hitters, all you need is them all to go off in 1 week, because I mean there can't be many teams with Salah, Sterling, double Spurs and Werner. I'd imagine the percentage of that is extremely low. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see next week which you go for. And I think press conferences this week are going to be huge, especially that Lamptey news, because he's in a lot of teams, right? And I expect a lot of people wanted to play him this week, myself included. So fingers crossed he's there. So yeah, good luck. Obviously, Kane captain, Kane or Son is going to be massive. I mean, their effective ownership was huge last week when Salah had a good fixture. So they're going to be even higher this week. So yeah, if you haven't got them and you're going different, I mean, it's like last week for you. It would be a massive gain, but also a huge loss if Spurs keep doing well.
It's a weird one. Last week I was like, is it brave or is it stupid going with Sterling? And I kind of backed myself to go, no, it's brave, not stupid. But I can't help but feel if you own Kane this week and you're thinking differential, you'd look at the brave, stupid spectrum, and it would definitely veer that way. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there are weeks to go different. Like we said, game week 9. I mean, Salah versus Leicester is not a bad choice. Like if you wanted to default to him as captain, it's not a bad choice. But there are other options you can go for. That kind of week is probably better than this week when Salah's playing City, so no one's really looking there. Even though it could be an open game, we don't know. But yeah, well, let's see what happens, and we'll talk more about Game Week 9 captaincy next week, because it'd be a little bit more interesting, I think. Just before we go, I'll just do my Fantasy 5 picks. So Spurs are going to come up in this as well. So like I said earlier in the video, you just got to pick 5 players, 1 from each of the games that are listed, and then there's a whole list of players that you can choose from. So I'm actually going for quite a few big hitters in this one. So I've had a quick look, but not in the first game. So Crystal Palace versus Leeds, a lot of the attackers need double returns. And even in the form that Bamford's in, I just think Crystal Palace 2 returns, not really something I want to go for. So I'm going to go for a defender from Leeds, not from Crystal Palace. Although Crystal Palace just need the clean sheet. But Cooper, who I believe should start alongside Cock, who I won't say too often in case I get that completely wrong. But Cooper only needs a clean sheet, and I think against Crystal Palace that could be done. Although, to be fair, Leeds were very open against Leicester, and Zaha, if he can get in behind, it'll be an interesting one. But I think overall Leicester's a much better team than Palace, so I'm not expecting Palace to get in as often as Leicester did. So I'm going for Cooper in defence. Then your boys, Chelsea against Sheffield United. So Werner only needs 2 returns against them. Ziyech also needs 2 returns. So I'm going to go for Werner in this one. I'm actually going for a lot of strikers in this. So I'm going Werner against your boys. Do you think you can get 2 or more against Sheffield United?
Yeah, it's all about the early goal. If we get a goal in the first half an hour, or even first half, yeah, I'd expect we'd be fine.
Good stuff. So I'm going Werner. West Brom versus Spurs. So I was surprised at this. And so I'm going to get it locked in before they change it. But Son has to get 3 returns against West Brom. Kane only has to get 2 because he's 9.5 points. So if you've got 2 goals, that's 10 points. So I'm going for Harry Kane. 2 goals against West Brom. I mean, look, Don't get me wrong. It's difficult to predict 3 different players to get two goals or more in 1 week. But Kane against West Brom's got to be a dead cert. And then sticking with strikers, again, Jamie Vardy against Wolves. I think Wolves have kept a lot of clean sheets already, and they haven't conceded a huge amount of goals. But we know what Vardy's like, and he just needs 2 returns as well. So 2 goals, that is, not a goal and an assist. So I'm actually going for Vardy as well. So I'm going Werner, Kane and Vardy. So a lot of the times in this, I've gone kind of outside of the box. And apart from the Leeds defender this week, I'm not going outside the box at all. The toughest game is Man City versus Liverpool because, I mean, let's quickly touch on it, right? Because we've kind of brushed over them for captaincy. Are you expecting a tight game or an open game?
So I think it was during Project Restart, it was about, I don't know, game week 34 plus or something last season. So it's only a few months ago. Man City 4, Liverpool 0. They blew them away. Liverpool had won the league, but I think it was the Guard of Honour match. I really fancy Sterling in this match. Because Liverpool have been conceding goals because of their injuries, I just think City could go and do a number on them. They've got home advantage. Look, I say it every week. I'm waiting for City to go big, but I feel like this could be the fixture. And yeah, my money's on City for sure.
So I'm also going towards City as well. I mean, they're at home. Whether home or away matters anymore. It's still probably something we need a few more games with no fans to really know. Salah, you'd have to base, if you bet on Salah, it's like 11 points plus. Sterling's the same 11 points plus, but De Bruyne only needs 10 plus. So De Bruyne is the one I'm going for in this game. I do think there's a chance because it's so early in the season that it could just be another tight game. But all the defenders need at least a clean sheet plus an attack and return. So yeah, I'm going for Kevin De Bruyne. So I have not always, but sometimes picked outside of the box players, but not this week. Vardy, De Bruyne, Kane, Werner, and Cooper for Leeds, just to be a little bit different. So last week, the only one that came in for me was Callum Wilson versus Everton. So hoping some of these boys can come in for me this week. So if you want to check that out, link in the description below. Gianni, thank you very much for joining me again. Fingers crossed for this week. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with your transfers.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully being here and not having such an embarrassing rank, but it can only get better next week. And yeah, the transfers are going to be fun. I'm looking forward to Friday. So many options. It's fun when it's like that.
Yeah, and you get either way, whether you get a green or a red arrow, you get a break next week because it's international break. So I always think like that is I said it the last one. You always want a green arrow going into the international break. You don't actually want that extra thinking time when you've had a bad week. So fingers crossed all around. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like. Hit subscribe as well if you're new around here. I think we've surpassed 55k now, so onwards to 60k. So hit that button if you haven't already, and we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. Cheers, Gianni.